Well, we're just going to go ahead. I'm going to clip the live stream and get that going. Wonderful. Looks like that's working. And I am just going to, good, we're back. Well, wonderful. Greetings. Welcome back to another month of live Q&A, Crystal Conversations with Mary Jo. You know, I always look forward to this every month because I get so many great questions during the month, and it gives me a chance to just sit with those questions and get kind of that intuitive sense as to how to respond to the questions rather than reacting to the questions. And so please feel free to go ahead and put any chats in the chat box if you would like, and I will certainly address those as well. So for those of you who aren't familiar with me, I'm Mary Jo Feely. I am the owner of Fourth Dimension Healing in Stillwater, Minnesota. I have a energy and Reiki healing session practice. I offer sessions. I offer crystal healing. I have an online shop, an online school, which is called the Center for Crystal and Healing Studies. And if you're watching this later on the YouTube stream, thank you very much for joining in. I will have links for all of those different sites below the YouTube video so that you can refer to them. As we move through this evening, we're going to be taking a look at some of the questions. And the first one actually is a question that I hear all the time, and it is one that I have spoken to both in a separate video on my YouTube channel, as well as I've addressed it in one of the more recent Q&As. And the question is, how do we work with a stone, and how can we really connect with the stone in a way that can be meaningful? So what I want to do is we're going to actually do a small, very short, brief crystal healing meditation that will give you a sense of how to begin to work with the stone. So as you're viewing this, if you're watching live, you may have a stone nearby. If you are watching the video later, the recast or the replay, I would ask you right now, consider pausing the video, going and getting one of your stones, and then turning the video back on. So what I think is really important is to work with a stone that is connecting with you and during the time that you are really present moment. So for me, I have a stone I like to work with a lot, and this is charoite sphere. Perhaps I may talk more in detail about charoite in another one of these Q&As. Perhaps that question will come in. But charoite for me is a stone that resonates with the heart chakra. It envelops all of the energy field, and I find it is a wonderful stone to work with for meditation and for crystal healing and prayer time. Of course, you can have any stone that you want. So if you are perhaps you're driving and you're listening to this YouTube, you can imagine that you are holding one of your favorite stones, because we really, as we work with these stones, we begin to be more and more connected with their energies, and we can carry those stone energies with us. You've heard me talk before about how sometimes slipping a stone inside the pillowcase at night while we sleep can be a wonderful way that we can connect with those properties and then leave the stone at home while we go about our day. That's an example of how we carry those properties within our energy field. We're going to do the same thing now with this meditation, with the intention that we're holding a sacred time. So begin by placing the stone in whichever hand you feel drawn to place it. It does not need to be in your non-dominant or your dominant hand. I want you to be comfortable. You'll know right where it belongs. Then I would ask you to, if you're comfortable and not driving, go ahead and close your eyes and begin to simply just bring your awareness to your breath and your heart space, because all healing comes out of our heart. And when we're working with crystal healing, it's the same. We want to be connected with our heart so that the healing that we're bringing forth and calling forth through the work with the stone is resonated within our heart. It's through the intention that that energy is going to move either someplace within our own being, if that is what we are calling forth for healing, or perhaps if we're sending healing to somebody else that's not with us, this is that intention, that heart-centered, focused intention and awareness is how this can be very powerful. So you're holding that stone. Simply allow yourself to take 2 or 3 slow, easy breaths. And what that does is that begins to help your nervous system reset. It begins to help your nervous system shift into a place of healing and rest and repair. And it is in this place that we offer healing. So after 2 or 3 breaths and settling, letting all the cares from the past few minutes just set aside, bring your awareness to your stone and to the intention that you would like to hold during this brief meditation. It can be for you or for somebody else, and it can be for anything. Allow the intention to come forth. It may be a physical healing need you have, or a concern or worry. It's all welcome, and allow yourself to simply hold that intention, focus on your heart space, and begin to invite this energy, these healing properties of the stone that you're holding. Allow them into that heart space and allow them to almost surround that intention. And as you rest in this awareness, simply notice what you notice. If you're offering healing for another, this is where you envision that all these properties are going into their energy field and supporting them, whether it's physically, emotionally, mentally, or spiritually. This is such a beautiful way to offer crystal healing from a distance to another. And if you're offering healing and setting the intention for your own healing, imagine and feel and allow the healing properties of the stone to move into every part of your physical body, every cell, all the way down to the molecules, and also connecting with this beautiful energy field that you have around you, this beautiful biofield, this beautiful aura. And to know that these properties are touching into that as well. And now we're going to conclude this brief meditation, bringing your awareness back to your breath. Slowly beginning to perhaps wiggle your toes or your fingers, gently opening your eyes and returning back to this moment. So working with gemstones and crystals to support your own healing and healing of another is just this simple. It's heart-centered, it's very present moment. And the beauty of this kind of healing is we don't even need to worry or know about any of the properties that the gemstones bring us. They bring those properties into us, and we can definitely learn about them. So if you're finding you're drawn to a stone repeatedly to sit with and to learn more about and to settle into and shift into that healing frequency that the stone brings you, then it may be that that stone is inviting you to deeper work. So work with this, and this is just such a beautiful way to do it, whether you have 2 minutes or an hour or half an hour or 15 minutes, just a really nice way to pause and work with the gemstones or crystals. So I am trusting that that will be helpful, and I would love to hear feedback from you as to what your experiences have been as you have been doing more intentional healing, focused work for yourself or another with the crystal meditation. So as I mentioned, we have a lot of questions, and if I don't get through all the questions, I'll be reaching back out to those who did offer the questions so that they get their questions answered right away, and I will definitely be revisiting those next month. So our first question is, I've heard you talk about how there is a difference between the energy of the seasons. Since it is summer, are there any stones that would be especially good to work with now? That is a wonderful question. And in the Northern Hemisphere, we are right smack dab in the middle of summer. We had a very long winter in the Northern Hemisphere. And also we are coming up on the summer solstice. So it's especially a wonderful time to be asking this question. Summer is the energy of fire. It is this creative, hot energy, and we can really build upon that while we are working specifically with gemstones. So I've selected 3 fire element gemstones that I want to talk with you about. And I will say, though, that if you are really, really, really hot and you don't want any more fire in your life, then you may want to consider working with a stone that resonates with water or a stone that resonates with earth. Earth balances the fire and the water polarity that we shift back and forth with between spring and summer with the fire and fall and winter with the water. So what I'm going to suggest is either work with water to do some of that cooling or work with earth to balance the bounce back and forth that we sometimes do. What comes to mind is if we are working or living in an air-conditioned environment and then we go outside into a very warm environment, that's an example of these extremes of hot and cold. So working with earth can be really balancing if you're in that kind of a situation. So the 3 fire element stones I brought you today, the first one is malachite. So malachite has a lot of copper in it. It's a fabulous stone that connects the heart with this kind of empowered, passionate, fiery energy. So it can be very helpful working with the heart chakra. Maybe we're feeling really angry and it's a hot anger. It's not a cool, seething anger. This could be a really nice stone to work with to shift that fire into a more compassionate space. So I really enjoy working with this. Now, because it has a lot of copper, it can be considered toxic if you're working a lot with it, if it's not polished. My recommendation is to work with polished stones if you're going to be handling them. So that's why I like tumbled stones. Additionally, they're nice and small, so they're very easy to work with. Now, I have a piece of malachite that has a big nick out of it, and that's the way it arrived. I really like it because it kind of shows that there is sometimes this imperfection that we're going to see within the gemstones that can remind us of how we continue to heal despite and in spite of our own imperfections. And with that particular stone, I don't hold that. I carry that either in a little cage or keep it tucked in a pillowcase, but I don't handle it a lot because of its potential copper. If you do handle any of the stones that have a little of that extra copper or sulfur, and I mentioned, I believe it was last month, we talked about jaspers and I talked about bumblebee jasper, which is really sulfur. Again, I don't work with that one for that reason, but you will want to wash your hands. Be mindful of that. So that's one firestone that I think can be really helpful. The next one I brought is a piece of natural citrine. So citrine is basically amethyst that's been heated up and its properties shift. It now becomes fire rather than more of a windy kind of inspirational energy. This is a piece of natural citrine, which means that the heating process took place while the stone was still in the earth. If the the amethyst had been heated up after it was out of the earth, it would be known as common citrine. So for me, natural citrine has this really nice, steady energy of fire that can be really, really helpful. And in the middle of hot summertime, we still need to be motivated. We still need to get things done. And so this is where fire element gemstones can be very helpful. The third one that came to my mind is a piece of septarian. Now, septarian is actually a combination of 3 stones. It is a combination of orange calcite, which is the fire. It also has chalcedony, which is a form of quartz. Sometimes chalcedony can be that fiery energy. And then also aragonite, which is not fire. But because there is so much fire in the septarian, I like to work with that. And it has some earth also. And so that earth here is that little balancing fulcrum point between the fire and the water that I think the septarian can be really helpful. So that would be my suggestion, is 3 possible stones that you might want to consider working with the fire element and broadening out some of your learning about that. Let me set that aside. All right, here's a great question and quite timely for summertime. I'm going to be going on a family trip. We all get along pretty well, but I know there are going to be times that are stressful. What recommendations do you have for crystals that can help me stay calm? Great question. We all have times, whether we're having family vacation or maybe we're just going away for the weekend with some friends, and sometimes people can get on each other's nerves. Remember that we also are one of the people that is getting on somebody else's nerves as well. And so as I gave thought to this particular question, what came to my awareness is that what we really perhaps would benefit most with, as we are working with learning to stay in the space and stay in a place of open-heartedness and compassion and be really clear with thinking, is some stones that have to do with communication and that more of that mind space. Because we want to communicate effectively, and communication is more than just talking to people. It's also about our body language and how we interact with each other. So one of the first stones that I think can be really helpful, perhaps to take on that family trip, is a piece of chrysocolla. So chrysocolla is a water element stone. It is perhaps one of the stones I would say would be a cardinal stone for clearing out that throat chakra. That throat chakra is about expressing, it's about communicating, and it's not just about communicating verbally. So how we carry ourselves, how we interact with others can be really influenced by how that throat chakra is allowing us to express ourselves. And so having a piece of chrysocolla can be very, very calming and soothing for ourselves, and it helps us remain more centered and balanced. Another stone that can be very helpful with communication and can also be very, very supportive of having that kind of more clear thinking and awareness is blue lace agate. So here's an example. It's a little hard to see. I apologize for the lighting, but it is this combination of white quartz and blue chalcedony. And it's got this banding, which is a reminder to us that there are lots of layers that go on when it comes to communication. What words we speak, are they aligned with our actions? Are they aligned with our thoughts? This is how I believe blue lace agate could be a helpful stone in this situation. By having these stones perhaps with us, if we're going to be on an extended vacation or a long weekend with a number of people, this is an example of how we can work with a stone like this and be very mindful of, just by looking at it, well, that's right, I should have my mind and my speech and my actions aligned in a way that's helpful. The third stone that came to my mind is labradorite. Now, labradorite is a stone that typically really resonates up with that brow chakra, that crown chakra. And when we hold a piece of labradorite with the light, particularly sometimes at just the right angle. It's almost like all this inner light is reflecting back out from the stone back out to us. And I like labradorite for that because it reminds me that everybody that I'm with, everybody that we're maybe with on that weekend with our family, has this inner light that is in the process of shining out. Ours is in the process of shining out. And as we can set aside some of our lower thought forms and our lower reactivity to situations and fall into that place of calmness, that with that calm mind and that open communication, that we really are able to not only allow our own inner light to shine out, but we're much more able to see the other lights that are coming from within those that we are with. So it is about allowing the others to reflect back to us what we need to learn. So be mindful that everybody around us is a teacher. And so if we are on a trip with our family and we really are feeling that some of that stress is creeping up, they may be reflecting to us that we just need to take a little bit of a break. We need to relax a little bit. We need to breathe. And so these are examples of stones that bring in some of those higher wind energies and some of that water energy that can help clear and help balance out that throat chakra and that mind chakra so that we have a better connection with mind and the way we express ourselves. So I think that would be those would be some good options to think about. Okay. Okay, the next question says, my mom knows how much I enjoy working with crystals, and she gave me your 5-piece crystal toolkit set. I've been using them for a while now, and I wonder what's next. So that's a wonderful question, and it's a question that helps us know how to build upon what we're learning about with our stones, and then how we can pick up on the fact that we're maybe being invited to explore either some different stones or work with the stones that we have more deeply. For those of you who are not familiar with my online shop, and you can certainly take a look at the links below and go check it out, what I have done is created a number of different gemstone collections, sets that I don't want to take the guesswork out of things, but I think it can be helpful for you as you're beginning to wonder about what stones might be helpful for certain situations. I have some sets, for example, that cover all of the chakras and balance all the chakras. I have some sets that are specific for the elements or for particular body function areas. So take a look at that. But this person who submitted this question is speaking specifically to a set that I have created, and I have 3 sets in their toolkit set. Because as we start working with crystals, sometimes things can feel kind of hodgepodge, or maybe we're given one here and find one there, and that's all wonderful. And sometimes we may want either for ourselves or gift for another person, a little set that can help a person or ourselves begin to build and create our own crystal toolkit. So I have a set that has 5 stones. I have a set that has 10 stones, and I have a set that has 15 stones. The 5 stones I first want to talk about briefly, just so you know what this person who wrote this question is talking about, because those are the stones that this person's been working with. The 10 stone set has the 5 plus 5 more. The 15 stone set has the other 2 sets all combined together, because some people, depending on budget or what their needs are, they just are curious about how to take a look at different collections. So the stones that the writer has been working with are stones. 1 represents each of the 5 different elements. And for the earth element, this person's been working with regular shungite. Talked about shungite before, and I have another video about shungite, but it's a wonderful earth stone. This person's been working with carnelian for a while. This represents fire. They've been working with rose quartz, which is a beautiful water element stone. has come up in some of the other monthly live Q&As. So if you haven't seen those, go back and take a look, because I think you're going to have some really good questions that were asked that you can resonate with and relate to, and also get more information. The wind element stone in the 5-piece set is amethyst. And then we have clear quartz, which is resonating with the storm element. So these are the stones that that particular person who wrote this fabulous question has been working with. So now my thought is that I'd like to introduce this person to some of the stones that are in the 10-piece set, because these 5, some of these, maybe 1 or 2, or maybe all of them might resonate with this person. I'm going to start again working earth, fire, water, wind, and storm. So I'm going to introduce you to the stones that could be your next step. Black tourmaline. Now this is an earth element stone, and this stone in particular is not only a wonderful clearing stone and earth stone, but it is a great stone to help us shed and declutter a lot of energetic debris that we all pick up. Shungite also helps with that. And so this person's already been working with shungite. I would say black tourmaline is a really great stone to work with. I have addressed black tourmaline in a previous live Q&A as it pertains to gridding homes or rooms, and how we can support gridding for protection and for just really getting a nice clear space. So that would be black tourmaline. Fire, if this person does not already have a golden's tiger's eye, this might be a good choice. Golden's tiger's eye, while it is definitely a fire element, it also has a earth component. I love this tiger's eye. Golden tiger's eye pulls in sun energy, pulls in earth energy. And when you think about it, we need to be grounded on the planet, and we also need to be able to get this kind of higher light energy coming down. And on the physical plane, the sun represents that. And then at a spiritual plane, then we have higher spiritual energies that represent that. So as we're doing this work, sometimes you're going to hear me say body, mind, spirit. Sometimes you're going to hear me say physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual. When you hear me break it down, physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual, I'm talking about the levels of healing that take place in the physical plane. When I talk about body, mind, and spirit, what I'm actually referencing are levels of consciousness. We have a physical consciousness, which includes everything we think and feel and know and experience physically. Then we have a higher mental consciousness that has to do with higher mind. And then we have the spiritual component, which is spiritual consciousness. So for the sake of the work that I do with my energy healing work and my crystal healing work and my teaching, I'd like to focus it on our physical experience here on the planet, because this is where we do our work, we learn our lessons, we do our growing, and we're doing that in the physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual planes or levels all the time, but sometimes one speaks louder. And so by connecting up with all of the aspects of our experience as humans in this time and healing and really bringing it together comprehensively, I think that that is a really the best way to be able to balance and heal overall. So those are the two stones, the black tourmaline for earth, the golden tiger's eye for fire. For water, I have included lepidolite in the kit. I think this, if this person does not have lepidolite, this I would say is a wonderful notch up for working with water element stones, because it has this ability to calm the nervous system. So here we have, even though we have a little overlap with nervous system, which is typically a very fiery energy, if you think about it, the nervous system is about our neurons firing. And so we need that electrical energy of fire for our nervous system to function. And remember, fire and water are the same polarity. So this can be very helpful in calming down some of that overactive fire. Just like I suggested with the question around summer and stones to work with the summer, there are times when we're going to want to pull a water stone in to help us cool, the same way that lepidolite is doing. Now, fluorite is one of my favorite stones. I can't even tell you exactly why. It's just something about the fluorite. It has this cool energy. It is a wind element stone, yet it has this ability to kind of cool and calm and clear the mind. And so if you've not been working with fluorite, I think that this is just this fabulous stone. It comes in a lot of different shades. So it may be purple, it may be clear, may be green, and almost as if it's almost a full spectrum of color. Many of the times, if you find a piece of fluorite, and here's an example of one that's kind of a pale green and some white cream, many times fluorite is what's known as rainbow fluorite. So if we think of a rainbow, we've got this beautiful spectrum of color. That's what happens with a lot of fluorite. And depending on which hunk you received, it may be from that little green, that green ray. It could be from more of the purple ray. It could be more from a clear section of that particular piece of larger stone. It's still going to be called rainbow fluorite. So if you ever are looking at rainbow fluorite and you go, wait a minute, I was looking for a full rainbow, you've really got to look for the piece if you're looking for a full spectrum. And those are not always as easy to find, but I carry, for example, a lot of rainbow fluorite, which is a lot of different colors from the same species. There's storm. Now, storm is about transformation, and I have videos about storm element stones. I really like indigo gabbro. Indigo gabbro is a stone that, while it resonates with this kind of more stormy energy of the upper chakras, what it's really doing is pulling it down and anchoring it deep into our physical body. And again, that's what we want. I talk to my clients when they come for Reiki or energy healing sessions, and I talk about how important it is for us to ground those energies into our physical body, because any of us, if we receive any form of energy healing, whether it's Reiki or healing touch or theta healing, whichever modality it may be, we all feel restful because energy healing helps our brain state shift into more of a relaxed state, which is what we want it to do. And we want to stay there. We want to be able to really anchor some of those energies so that we can get up off the healing table, walk out the door and into our life and be transformed, not just feel transformed during the time we're resting on the healing table. Indigo gabbro is a really fabulous stone to help us with that. So I hope that helps answer that question. How we can begin to build and expand upon the stones that we have. And I would also add that I'm going to pick up the amethyst here for a minute. If I've been working with amethyst and really finding that I like working with that wind energy, then perhaps you want to reach out to take a look at what other wind element stones are available for you to start to work with. If you're not sure what those are, go out to my online shop. I have a filter where you can filter wind element, and it'll show you all the kinds of different stones that resonate with that particular energy. And then from there, it may help you begin to sense into what stones are inviting you to do more work. So I think embedded within this fabulous question is the fact that this person is beginning to sense that there's an invitation to go deeper, and this person listened, so that's really great. Now a chat just popped in here. I have a question that relates to the family trip question you just answered a few minutes ago. Would it be okay to place some gemstones in the car for the road trip without others knowing, or do others need to know they're there? That's really a great question. The question really ties into two things. Why are you placing the stones in the car? Is it for you? Is it for your own personal healing? Then I would say you don't have to share that out. You can put it in the glove box, put it in that little spot next to, many of the seats have a little console that you can tuck it into. Maybe you want to put it underneath your seat. Maybe you're doing a lot of the driving, you want to stay really focused. You can slip it underneath the seat of the driver's seat. So if it's for you, no, you don't have to share it. If you're putting a stone in the car because you want the whole carload to do really well during that trip, then I would just go ahead and let them know, you know what, I find that when I have this purple stone with me, I feel calmer, and I would really like it that you all know I've got it, and I want to just put it right here on the dashboard, or I'm going to put it right here in the cup holder, so that it is not only helping me stay calm, but it's filling the whole car with calm energy. So that would be my approach. There is an ethics piece to it, and it's like it's not going to hurt anybody to have a stone sitting somewhere in the car, but there's that underlying, am I willing to be vulnerable enough to share how I feel and let everybody know about the stone? I hope that answered that question. And I always have to smile, because I bet you for many of us who have stones and rocks around us, there are probably stones in environments that we've forgotten that are there. And so they already are influencing the entire environment. But it does come back to intention, just like we did when we started that initial crystal meditation. You can have that stone you want in the car, set the intention, and really have it heartfelt. And don't just plop it in the cup holder and say, fix the carload. Bring an intention, because that changes you. It doesn't change the stone. The stone helps you to change. So I hope that answered that question. If not, please, whoever chatted in, please go ahead and invite you to ask for more clarity about that. All right. Here's a question that some of you might be able to relate to, either personally, or you might know of somebody who is going to be experiencing this. I will be going away to college at the end of the summer. A friend knows how much I love crystals and gave me some money to buy some before I leave. Do you have any ideas what can help me figure out which stones would be best for me now? Well, here's again, I sat with this question for a little bit, because of course I don't know who wrote this question in, all the details. I mean, I know who wrote it, but I don't know all the details going on in this person's life. So I kind of sat with the stones, and one of the things that really came to me is that they came back to the chakras, and the chakras, you can see a little bit of the coloring behind me. That bottom root chakra is red, and that red chakra, that root chakra, is about grounding, feeling safe. It has a lot to do about family and close relationships, and it has to do with our tribe. So this person is going off to college. Their tribe is shifting. They're shifting out of a home that they have been stabilized and grounded in, and they're shifting into a new environment. So one of the things that comes to me is that this person could consider strongly, I would say, consider strongly working with stones that have some resonance with the earth energy, because that tribal grounding security energy. One of my favorite earth stones to work with is almandine garnet. This is an example of one. Often you will find them, this is a raw one, and it's faceted, comes out in all these little notches. And it's got this strong energy that connects deeply into the earth. In my experience, I like to describe earth energy for me, in my experience, showing up in two ways. One is this more vital red earth energy that shows up when we need to have our energy boosted, when we need to be really super anchored, and when we need to be able to get that energy up into our energy field, often all the way up into our heart chakra. So that's this kind of red, deep, ruby red type of energy. The other earth energy that I experience is this energy that's very nurturing. It's almost like you can't see perhaps the color really well, but this cloth fabric that I work with when I do these Q&As for the stones, it's almost like a forest green. That's the energy also of the earth, this nurturing kind of being wrapped and cared for and nurtured kind of energy. So both are part of the earth. The almandine garnet, you are going to be connecting with an energy that is very, very deep and grounding. So this person, if they're getting up and moving, going away to college, whether it's an hour drive or a day's air flight away, we've got this re-establishing that footwork, that foundation that this person's going to be working with. I brought two more stones to talk about because they are stones that actually represent and bring in the properties of both that deep red and then that nurturing green energy. And particularly when we are working with stones that have both the red and the green frequencies, those are earth stones that are bringing those energies all the way up into that heart space, because the heart chakra is that, it resonates with that green. So one of the stones that I like to work with, and I would definitely recommend for this person, is dragonstone jasper. This may have been also one of the stones I talked about last month. I do a lot of talking about stones and crystals, so I don't always keep everything straight in my head after the fact. But you can see both the red and the green. This is a wonderful stone to work with. And this might be the stone, or any of these stones really, that this person could be carrying in their pocket or in a small pouch during the day, slipping underneath their pillowcase at night. Maybe they want to have a collection of earth stones that they create a very small grid. Take a look at some of the grids that I have available, and I talk about them on my website, because there is a square grid that has a very foundational, protective, anchoring energy that could be very simple to create a square grid working with some of these stones. Dragonstone jasper. The other stone that represents both of those threads of that red and that green is unakite or unakite jasper. Again, we've got this earth energy coming up into that heart space. Again, wonderful stone to work with. And it could be that this is a kind of stone that this person could meditate with, even for a few minutes at the end of the day or at the beginning of the day, or getting ready to move into classes, just holding it as a touch point, a little reminder that they're safe. They are reestablishing a new home base. Think of it that way. Kids do this too when they go off to school. Kids are really resilient. Kids are very adaptable and are able to very quickly, for the most part, shift from location to location to location. And kids are reestablishing those root chakras every year as they move into a new classroom with new friends and with new teachers. So we can learn from the children in our lives too, and watch how easy it is for them. Remembering that when a person goes away to college, they're somebody's kid. And we can hold that also in mind, that these are often young people who are going off to school, sometimes for the first time, and they are reestablishing a strong foundation. So those would be my suggestions for that. Here's another question that I I'm going to read it, and then I believe you're going to be able to see how we can build upon what we've already been talking about just tonight. A friend of mine who lives out of state is having some health problems. I feel bad because I can't be there in person, but I want to use stones to help them. I feel so helpless. So first of all, I want to say I'm so sorry that your friend is really having some health issues and is struggling. It does hurt our hearts, and we're all connected with each other at some ultimate, absolute level. And so when anyone's in pain, when anyone's in suffering, it does impact all of us. And so there are several approaches that we can take with this. One of the approaches is what we did at the very beginning of this particular Q&A, is when we stopped, we paused, we went into our heart space, we rested, we set an intention. So perhaps if the listener or the person who submitted this is listening right now, perhaps you brought this friend to your awareness earlier. If not, this would be a perfect time to do that. And we could also think about what stones could be most helpful. Again, we don't have to know all the details. You may hear of a relative that has some health issues that you became aware of and you don't know the details, and that doesn't have to hold you back from offering healing. And in this case, we're talking about how to work with gemstones and crystals to support that. The stones know how to work. We don't have to overthink things, and we sure as heck do not need to know all the properties of all the stones we're working with in order for that healing to be effective. In fact, sometimes overthinking gets in the way because our thinking brain, our ego-based brain, interferes with our ability to be centered and open so that that higher brain, that higher mind can drop those inspirations and those energy blessings down into us. So the first stone that I always will recommend when anybody is asking about how to support a friend, and actually I do get asked this question a lot. This is not the first time this question's come up. I believe rose quartz is such a lovely stone. Rose quartz is water element. It is about compassion. It is about love. And when we think about it, when we open our heart and share healing, we are opening our heart to love and compassion. And there isn't anything greater than that. So working with rose quartz can be very helpful in bringing in that loving, compassionate energy into the healing that you'd like to offer for this person. The other thing, being a water element stone, it is very soothing and nurturing. So this is again why I would recommend considering working with rose quartz. A piece of tumbled clear quartz. So not all clear quartz is going to be terminated, either single like this one or have double terminations. If we were to look at this tumbled piece of quartz microscopically, we will see the same structured hexagonal microscopic layout of the way the crystals are stacked, just like this. It's just that this is a piece that at some point either broke off or could have been the base of something like this that just got tumbled up. And the beauty of so many of these tumbled stones is that because we're able to work with them, because these are all little pieces of other stones that are often just left on the side of mining piles or left on the side of stone digs for larger pieces. And so I'm so grateful that these are gathered up and tumbled and we're able to work with them. I'm recommending clear quartz for this particular question because clear quartz resonates with all of the chakras. It's a storm stone. So yes, it's got transformation. There's a lot happening with storm, and it will address all of the chakras and help them all clear. So we don't necessarily need to know what's wrong with the person. If If it's a respiratory thing, we know it's kind of landing up in this heart space. If it's a foot issue, we know it's going to be landing down in the bottom part of their energy field, and that's going to be root chakra. Are they having severe migraines, or have they had a brain incident, a stroke or something like that? We know that's way up high in the energy centers. This will help support all of the different chakra balancing that this person will need to be able to help their physical body and their cells function optimally. So that's why I selected the clear quartz. And then the third stone I picked may seem at first a little like, oh, that's a different stone to suggest. It's lapis lazuli. And you can see this is a small stone. Again, you've heard me say before, they don't have to be really big stones. Lapis lazuli is a stone that supports the brow chakra. It supports that wind and that bringing down of those energies. It also helps open up this upper chakra, these upper chakras, both the crown and the brow, so that that higher mind energy, that higher inspirational energy can come down, drop down, and it gets into our heart space. Lapis lazuli is a wonderful stone to represent the balancing of heart and mind. So sometimes, whether it's us going through a healing situation, or in this case, definitely somebody else is moving through that, having that sense of trusting and knowing that there is healing taking place, even though sometimes there are no answers visible and we can't come up with answers. It's this balancing of mind and heart that can be really helpful. So that's why I wanted to include the lapis, to begin to take a look at how to work with lapis in a way that's different than perhaps thinking, oh, lapis, it's for the brow chakra, it's for meditation. It's a lot more than that. That is a really great question. Let me see, no other questions are popping in. This question says, my partner knows how much I have been benefiting from my crystal meditations. Yay! I think this alone speaks to the fact that as we do our healing work and working with crystals, really manifests and helps amplify and clear out what is getting in our way, that this person's partner is noticing that, and that's great. So this person said, I'd like to get him a stone so he can maybe get an idea of what they can do. So this partner is aware that there's shifting taking place, and perhaps this person would like their partner to be able to experience this. So there's a little bit of, I don't want to fix the person, that I don't want to imply that doing this is going to fix the person, but this sounds like the writer is noticing that there are some shifts that he would like his partner to benefit from. So the writer continues, he sometimes tells me that his knees and feet hurt and that he sometimes gets headaches. What gemstones do you suggest? We've got two things. We've got this person asking the question, I want my partner to benefit, and also recognizing that we've got foot and knee issues and headaches. Just a minute ago, I said feet, knees, legs, hips, that whole lower part of the body is root. So we're going to want to work with perhaps some root energy, which comes from stones. And also, sometimes we've got the headaches going. Those are that brow and crown chakra. So we've got bottom and top of the energy column, the chakra column, that may benefit. So I've got some stones that I think could be really helpful. Here's another piece of regular shungite. I mentioned the shungite before when I was talking about the 5-piece kit. So this is a piece of regular shungite. This is a piece of elite shungite. This is about 98% carbon. This is about 50% carbon. They're both really great, solid earth stones. Anytime we're dealing with foot issues and leg issues and knee issues, it is a grounding issue. So working with earth element stones can be really helpful. The other thing that happens is structurally, our feet, knees, and hips need to be aligned properly and equally for us to have that solid base. So that's why the root chakra gets a little out of balance, because the structure isn't even. So working with earth stones like the shungites can be really helpful to help restructure that lower part of the body. Also, here's a piece of ruby. You can see it's an earth stone. It's got that same kind of red energy that pulls up that earth energy. This person, whenever a person's physically ill, they're lacking physical energy. Earth is always going to help them. So I would suggest those. And also, at the same time, I would perhaps recommend bringing in a wind element stone. Dumortierite is the one that comes to mind. It helps clear the brow chakra. It helps it balance and clear out energies that are out of balance within the brain space. And when used with and worked with an earth stone, can help pull those clearing energies all the way down into the earth. So I do talk a lot about pulling earth energy up, but also we can give what we don't want to the earth, and that's sometimes that helpful energy of clearing from top down that can take place. So my recommendation would be work with some earth stones, introduce perhaps a wind stone like dumortierite. The wind stone would be a great stone to slip in under the pillowcase at night. Sometimes I've taken like a little a buff or a bandana and tied it around my head gently to hold a stone in place. Sometimes I put the stone on top of my head and put a little hat on top, like a stocking cap, again, to hold that stone in place up at the head, and that can help shift the headache as well. Those are some suggestions I would offer for that question. And certainly, as before, as I offer with any of the Q&As, if I've said anything that you have more questions about, or in general, if you have questions, please email me. Send me a chat through my webpage. If I'm online, I might chat right back. It might be that it pops up on my phone and I'm able to access our communication that way. You can always send me a text, although you've heard me say it before, text is not as private and as secure as email. And so if you're going to be sharing a lot of details, I will ask you then to shift to email or a phone call. So any of those ways are ways that you can reach out to me. Continue working with the stones you've got and listen to the stones. And like that one question that was submitted, this person sensed it was time to begin to shift into working with some other stones. So take a look at the stones. Some of my kits that I've gathered together are of stones that are fairly easy to find and fairly inexpensive. And that's a great way to start building your own set of stones to work with. And some stones are more difficult to find there, especially with COVID. Some of the shipping obviously has been really impacted, and it's been very difficult to get many of the stones. So take a look at what I offer, ask questions about what you already have. Feel free to send me, snap a picture and email it to me if you're curious about what you've got, and I'll see if I can help you figure it out. So we are just about out of time. I hope that this has helped you. As I've said before, I just love these times that I can get the questions and spend some time expanding a little bit. Many of my videos that I have on my channel are fairly short. There may be 15 minutes or something like that, but this gives us a whole hour to really dig into some of the questions and take a look at it from some different ways. So until next month, and I do have it written right here so I don't forget to share. Next month, we're going to be doing this again. I'll be doing this again on Thursday, July 14th. It'll be 6 p.m. Central Time, and you can submit questions, as many of you do, through my webpage, just go to my Q&A calls page, and there's a little form that you can submit. You can always call me too, and I'll jot that question down. But I think it's really important for you to continue to grow in your work with crystals and gemstones so that you can become not only more confident with your own understanding and experience, but become more competent to be able to trust that you've got this. I'm here as a guide, and that's what I really would love you to reach out so that I can be of support. So I thank you all for joining. I wish you many blessings. Be well.